do a little 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 thing.
Uh-huh.
Awesome. Lord Zippy, how you doing, man?
Very, very good. And yourself, Glenn?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. Sorry about the technical difficulties earlier, but
Oh, that's all right.
we live in the modern world, and the modern world is pretty fucked. So, you know,
Well, or there's a lot of formats you have to become familiar with. So,
exactly,
I mean,
exactly.
this one right here, I'm not familiar with this one, but
Yeah,
yeah, it seems everybody's got their own one that they use for this kind of stuff.
I decided to give them a shot because they claim to do a lot of interesting stuff. And Wednesday, I did an interview with Ken Stringfellow, and
Oh,
interview went okay, but the technology was totally glitchy, and so I had to basically extract all the tracks and try to put them back together, which I am not good at doing. So the video is all kludgy and weird. But I was like, hey, it's a good first shot, and I'm going to switch providers here.
right on.
Actually, I'm going to do it myself the next couple of times, I think. So just a matter of getting my mixing board and all that good shit back in, working again. So
Right.
anyway, so thanks. You're guinea pig number 2. So,
Well, all right.
yeah, exactly. Right. Exactly.
Yeah, not my first time
Yeah.
of being a guinea pig.
In fact, I think it was an Q show. I could be totally wrong, but I think it was an Q show where the mixing board or something, an amp blew or something like that. And I think it was you that had to try to sing without a mic, which was basically impossible. I'm not sure if you was accused or not, but
yeah, that's definitely happened.
Yeah. So it's like, you can't really sing over some of the loudest music on the planet. Like there's no way to do that, but you can try. You can pretend like you're going through the motions, right?
We played a show. Actually, we did a little East Coast tour about 2 years ago, and we played this place called Gold Sounds in the Bushwick neighborhood of Brooklyn. And we show up, and the sound guy, he's loaded, and he's playing all this like 50s like doo wop, kind of like American Graffiti type of stuff. And first band plays, sound guy's gone.
Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah, we had to jump in and take over on the sound, but at least I got to hear it. So
it probably turned out better that way anyway.
I think so, yeah.
So let's start with some non-music stuff, right? So let's talk about Zippies, because I'm fascinated by Zippies. When did you start doing Zippies? Like
that would be 12 years, 13 years come May is when we started that. Yeah, no, we found a place. There's a bunch of stuff going on in my life. I was working with kids for most of my adult life, and then I got an opportunity to be part of this biodiesel startup company. So we went through the training, got the company set up. We went over to Slovakia for a couple of weeks, and we trained on the machine. And we came back to Seattle, and we had the machine that we were going to use was being shipped over from Slovakia, and we got it over here. And we were trying to get the permits fast tracked because this was like, 15 years ago or something, when the biodiesel was like, that was the big talk of the town. Everybody was doing the biodiesel. And then the biodiesel thing eventually fell through. But while that fell through, we were doing our band Toetag, and we played a show. We played a show in Ballard at Mr. Spot's Chai Spot, little teeny coffee shop. So we're playing there, and we're about halfway through our set, and it's like, fuck, it felt like somebody just kicked me like as hard as they could in the back of my leg. And well, what happened is I'd snapped my Achilles tendon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was like that happened to my wife's telling me for a couple of weeks, you need to go to the doctor. I mean, it's like I got home and I literally crawled up the stairs, and I'm hobbling around for a couple of weeks. And I finally go in, and this fortunately was at the same time that the biodiesel thing, and it ended up not happening. Luckily, they still kept me on their insurance because it was very fucking expensive surgery. So anyway, I spent the summer laid up in a very, very deep depression, and I wanted to get my own gig. So I was looking around. I tried to get a spot down at the market I didn't get into that. I was looking at some different restaurants. I mean, I even looked at at a cigar store that's downtown. I don't know, like down in the Columbia. It was in between second and third.
Oh, I know. I think I know the one you're talking about.
And
Yeah.
it run by an old couple, but this was around the same time all that smoking ban stuff was going on.
Right.
So anyway, I was looking for something to do, and we found there was this teriyaki shop that was about a mile away from our house. That the business was for sale for $20,000.
Oh wow.
So we talked to the kid because it was a Korean run family. Only the son and the daughter spoke English, so we were dealing with them, and he was like so fed up with the teriyaki. I mean, part of the deal was they were supposed to give us, all of their recipes and show us, how they did it. And we started going around and researching, teriyaki around Seattle. I mean, because we liked it, because teriyaki is kind of like one of those things. It's like a distinctly, it's a West Coast thing.
Yeah,
it's not, but the kid was saying, if somebody did sandwiches or burgers in here, it'd be the hit. So we decided to go with burgers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's what we.
So you weren't a burger chef before, Zippy.
When I was younger, I worked at the Red Robin, and but not really a burger connoisseur or anything like that. It's just that's what was suggested, and that's what we went with. And when we opened, it was kind of like that's what still when we had MySpace before the big jump to Facebook and everything changed.
Right.
So we were kind of like we opened like right at that time when that whole social media deal was really kind of starting, and it was like it was huge. It was huge for us. I mean, we were contacted by the Food Network. We had been open like not even 3 months.
Oh yeah, I want to get to that because that was an awesome episode. So
no, that's even something different. That's Mystery Diners.
That's right.
This was even before that. Yeah, we were contacted by the Guy Fieri show. Diners, Drive-ins, and Dives, and first they couldn't believe that we were only open for 3 months and that they were like hearing about us, and at that point in time, our thing was we were able to grind our own beef. Was our niche, and that wasn't good enough for them. It's like our black mark was that we used frozen French fries and that we didn't cut our own French fries. So that's why they didn't put us on the show. But I mean, we were it was fucking insane. It was it was an insane. When we were in our first location, we had 12 stools, and then we had a couple of picnic tables outside.
Right.
And it was that's fucking crazy.
Yeah, that is. Yeah. So, just how are you doing during the COVID thing? Like,
it was good to begin with, but no, it's getting
right.
It's progressively gotten worse.
Right.
And
I think what happened is a lot of people were like, okay, I'm bored. I have a little bit of discretionary income, so I'm going to spend it, because I want to take care of people. And then suddenly they're like, fuck, I don't have any money of my own. So now what?
That's totally, totally. And, we could only do, it's not really worth the way that, our business is run. It wasn't worth us setting up indoor seating when it could only be at a certain percentage. We'd only opened up indoor seating like 2 weeks ago. We opened up indoor seating on a Friday, and then Sunday morning, which is always kind of weird here in Seattle. I don't know how things are announced in other parts of the country, but I mean, the governor of the state of Washington picks some really, really odd times. When he announces.
Yes, he does.
Stuff. So so 11 o'clock on a Sunday morning it's.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of places in Seattle and all over the United States. They spend a whole lot of money, to make their indoor spaces, acceptable and where you're following, all the guidelines for indoor dining.
Absolutely. There's a bar owner whose name I won't mention because he's extraordinarily controversial, but I know he just spent like I think $200,000 on his bar. Like seriously, like UV lighting shit and like whatever,
right.
And like for what?
Well, and it's it's almost kind of like I hated going to bars when there was smoking It was the most vile, disgusting thing. But when they started changing the rules and all these bars and restaurants had to install all this really really high tech air circulation equipment in there, and then it's like then you can't smoke, and they spent all this money on all this equipment to circulate, clean up the air, but then there's no smoking.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm a smoker, and I hate the smell of smoke.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I haven't smoked inside for 20 years. So
yeah, it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's totally gross. So, well, that sucks. So, okay, let's get back to Zippy's a little bit.
So we were in the our original location in Zippy's. We were in there for 3 years, and the owners of the building. This is a whole other weird, economic real estate sort of games that people play. But they had they stopped paying the mortgage on the building. So we were screwed. There was like a little coffee shop that was on the far end of the building, and they just ended up leaving. And people were in there, that's when the whole stripping wire and taking out copper pipe and all that shit. I mean, they like pretty much took this thing, apart, like vultures. And so that the people that own the building, that defaulted on the loan, they'd use it's all this weird, these fucking weird money games that aren't anything that I play. They defaulted on the loan. It was like $1 million some loan. They had done it before. Their house they had $1 million house that was used for collateral, and it was all this shit. And then the bank took over the property until it was sold, and then the bank, they see, wow, these guys are doing fucking great business, and then they tripled our rent to like what we would be paying if we had a space in downtown or on fucking Capitol Hill. I mean, we're in like a little teeny storefront in the Highland Park neighborhood of West Seattle.
Oh, that's right.
We have 12. We're selling fucking hamburgers, and we have 12 bar stools in our restaurant. And so we said, fuck you guys. We left. We got out of there. We took got up there with a sawzall and fucking took down the exhaust hood.
That's right.
It was stupid. And then luckily at that point in time, we had a really, really strong customer base, and one of our customers recommended a place that was in White Center, which is just about a mile south of where we were in Highland Park. And it was a place that was originally what was it called, Rick? That wasn't Country Kitchen. Cookbook Cafe is what the place originally was, and it was like back when breakfast places were breakfast places. The building opened in like 1984 or 1985. One of these places you go in and they're making country fries and they bake their own bread, and it's just like like shit you don't even get anymore because you can't afford to pay. Yeah, you can't afford to pay people the amount of money that it takes to make that kind of food. So we got we got in there. We got on the King County Tax Assessor website and found out who owned the building, and we sent the landlord a letter that said that, we wanted to get in there, and we got into the space up there in White Center.
Cool. And then how long until you opened the Georgetown location?
The Georgetown location, we were probably 4 or 5 years into White Center before we opened up Georgetown. We opened up Georgetown. John Bennett, who owns a lot of the properties down in Georgetown, it's kind of like a family friend. I'm a West Seattle guy who's a West Seattle guy. My mom had property down there, and he had been trying to get us into Georgetown for a long time. And he had this space that opened up, and wife reluctantly. She's sitting over here reluctantly. She reluctantly allowed me to pursue it, and we were going to do it with a partner, and then we met with the guy, and he was really, really gung ho, and he had supposedly he had the financial backing, but then he's going, well, I'm in a band, and I can't do this, that, or the other. It's like, fuck, dude. I mean, it's like it's like having a baby. If you want your baby to thrive, you got to be there for the baby. Otherwise, it's like, no, I don't need it. Yeah. So, yeah, we were down there for 3 years, and after being broken into 5 times,
right,
and I'm a fairly nice guy.
mm-hmm.
I'm easily taken advantage of, and it just reached a point where it's like I, I I get tired of being lied to,
Sure,
and then that was all that was during the time. I mean, we used to, as a business, we used to be able to do more for our staff because that was our choice. I mean, we for years we provided a bus pass subsidy. We would match the tip pool. Whole bunch of shit that we had to do, and as well as shift beers and shift food, because all of that stuff costs money. It's kind of like an old school. Too. Yeah, and it does, and it's kind of like an old school, restaurant mentality where there's a lot of alcohol and drug abuse. People are, I'm fucking you, you're fucking me. There's all that kind of stuff.
Right.
People are stealing food, and you get food, and all that stuff, but you're not being paid shit. Then it gets to be where it is now, where you have to pay people more, and all of that stuff. You can't have all that stuff anymore.
Right, exactly.
And it's hard to to explain to somebody that because at Zippy's we start off people at $16 an hour, then you train for a month, and then you get 17. It's like you get we used to do free meals. We had to stop that. If you want a meal, you get it for half off. And
reasonable.
You use the analogy. I mean, if you work at Safeway or the fucking Home Depot, you're making $15 an hour. And at the end of the day, right. At the end of the day, you don't get to take home a fucking hammer and a fucking box of meals. I mean, so it's kind of like it's this weird, mentality shift that's hard, and it really, going off onto a tangent. I get
and that's fine. I mean, so were you a supporter of the? Obviously, I mean, but ask the question anyway. You were a supporter of the $15 an hour.
We were already paying that already.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying.
We started giving our staff paid time off before that. So it's, I mean, and I think in a lot of respects, in some ways, the $15 an hour has backfired because people get they give you less hours, or it's another one of those money games that if you're a big business person, I mean, that's what you do, and that you have to maintain your bottom line is more important.
Sure, absolutely. No, absolutely. So okay, so obviously before you did Zippy's, which by the way is awesome, if anybody's listening, Zippy's, you're right only
center. Now, right? 9614 14th Avenue Southwest, right off 14th and Roxbury. Beautiful white center.
See, you're
doing delivery and takeout.
Perfect, man. Perfect. I had only been to the Georgetown one because I've lived in Seattle since '85, and I think I've been to West Seattle like twice, maybe 3 times. So I and always to like Salty's, or one of those places, right? So I never really hung out in West Seattle, and especially like white. I know nothing about like White Center beer, like anything south of like Soto.
Right.
I have no idea, but. I did go to your Georgetown location, and it's awesome stuff. So
yeah,
that's great. So obviously before all of that, you did a bunch of other things, and the biggest one is music stuff. So and by the way, I was talking to Tommy Hansen actually earlier today and trying to get him on the show.
Oh yeah. And,
he's funny, man, because he's become more and more curmudgeonly the older he gets. Like I mean, he's literally the definition of a curmudgeon. So that's why I have to get him on here just so we can talk.
Right.
And I said, I told him, yeah, we're definitely going to talk about the farts. And here's Tom, thumbs up. Like no words, just like thumbs up. Let's talk about the farts. So what I want to know is before the farts. So yeah, I didn't move here until like 85, and I didn't really get into the music stuff until probably 86-ish, maybe 87. So I know some of the history, but not a huge amount of it. Before the farts, what did Blaine Cook do before the farts?
I was in high school.
Okay, well that's fine.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I went. Yeah, I went. That's what I did. I went to school, listened to records, rode my skateboard, took acid,
There you go.
smoked
Perfect.
weed. Skip school.
So the Fartz were your first band, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, I fucked off. Yeah, yeah. And then
Oh,
punk rock came around, and
mhm.
I was attracted to that, and
Yeah.
yeah,
So okay, the, the Fartz to me are fascinating because so few people outside of I'm going to say Seattle, but definitely the West Coast know anything at all about them. But yet the album, I've seen the album cover all over the place. Just randomly. Like I saw it in a bar in Tokyo, for fuck's sake. So just it's out there.
yeah,
People don't really know a whole lot about the band. They don't know a whole lot about they know the song Judgment Day, which is an awesome song, by the way.
yeah.
But the rest of it they don't really know. Like I mean, you
Well,
guys,
nobody cared about Seattle back then. That's
no,
that.
not at all,
Yeah,
not at
yeah,
all. In fact, that's another thing we can get into, like especially when you start talking about the Accused, is that people forget that Seattle was a metal town. Like I mean, there was a lot of metal in the early to mid-ish '80s, right? In fact, I was wearing a Coven shirt yesterday for or Wednesday for the Ken interview, and like I love that band, just love them to death. But if you were to play them for somebody, they'd be like, "That's not a Seattle band," and they're not. They're Motley Terrace, but still,
yeah.
the north end of Seattle was particularly rife with the metal stuff. So what was I going to say? So the Fartz. So you guys, I know you did a tour of sorts, at least one, right, up and down the West Coast.
Well, we started playing. I can't be certain if our first show was like in December of 1980. I know I've got a flyer from us playing at the Showbox in January of '81. So
Okay.
that's when we started. We played all around Seattle because we were in cahoots with the well, Terry Morgan. He's still around. The guys who were running the Showbox back then.
Right.
That was the Modern Productions with Terry Morgan, and then later on you had Jim Lightfoot and Mike Verini were in there, and
Mm-hmm.
so we had the in at the Showbox, and there was another band at that point in time, a band called Soldier. Um,
Right.
they were practicing at the Showbox, so we were able to. And also, you would. That's back when I was hanging out with Regan Hagar, who was from
Right.
Malfunction, and
Yep.
Brad, and a whole bunch of other shit, The Deception Now, and blah 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 blah. But so we were able to hang out there. We worked security, we hung flyers, and it was all kind of like just for the privilege of being able to hang out at the Showbox. And then we got all the shows. So the Fartz, we got to we played with Discharge and Fear, the
Right.
Subhumans from Canada, DOA, the Circle Jerks, all the big bands that came through. We got to be on that stage, and
Right.
and then we met up with we got to play with the Dead Kennedys, and Biafra really dug Steve's lyrics, because Steve wrote 97% of the lyrics
Mm-hmm.
for the Fartz at that point in time, and it was more Steve Fart Hoffman. It was more his baby than anybody else's, and
Mm-hmm.
so Biafra really dug it, and then we got our first trip down to San Francisco. Was in the latter part of 81, and I think we
Mm-hmm.
played. We were down there for maybe not quite a week, and we played like three or four or five shows, and we flew down there, and then we took the. You used to have a choice of either the green tortoise or the gray rabbit. And the gray rabbit was the one that went the quickest, and the green tortoise was the slow bus down there. A bunch of
Right.
fucking hippies. You went at Crater Lake and ate granola or fuck whatever. You're gonna.
Stop to smoke weed on the side of the road.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Nothing they let you do anymore. But yeah, we flew down there the very very first time, and Biafra hooked us up with this guy. His name was Bob Noxious, and he was the
Mhm.
singer for a band called the Fuck Ups. and they had a storefront that they were living in the Mission District of San Francisco. So we stayed the first trip down there. We stayed with the fuck ups. That was pretty fucking wild. I don't even know if they even had running water.
That was the Mission was not a very happy place in the early 80s. I remember
there's parts of it right now that aren't very happy, but yeah, for the most part, it's a lot happier now than it was at that point.
They keep pushing people further and further up, so that they're basically like, they're trapped between like the high upper Mission is nice.
Yeah.
The lower Mission is getting gentrified and like squeezing everyone like right in the middle. So
yeah.
I love San Francisco, but the last couple of times I've been down there, it's just like,
that's sad.
I mean, Seattle makes me super sad, but San Francisco makes me like really, really, really sad.
Yeah, but if you travel, it's like that everywhere.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
It's
yeah. I was living in Manhattan when they were starting to really go through that, and actually, I'm sorry, just after they had gone through that. So it was really sad to see, like, literally Walt Disney in the center of Times Square, like, it's like there's no porno theaters. There's nothing. They're all gone. Instead, it's Disney and it's Planet Hollywood and all that shit.
Oh yeah, it's
like, crazy. Meanwhile, rents are skyrocketing. Yeah. But
all right. The good thing about San Francisco still is it's still if you get down there around the Tenderloin and kind of that part it's still pretty gritty, and there's still a lot of shit down there that's been there for a long time. But then there's the other the drug and the mental health business. It's not too.
That's very true. So so you're staying at a basically a squat.
Yeah. So So this is the first time that we went down there. We stayed with the fuck ups. We did a big show. I can't remember. It was either the Elite Club or the Old Waldorf. It was a club that was right next to the space that was Jim Jones's church.
Oh, perfect.
So I always forget which one it was. So we did a big show there with the Dead Kennedys. On that same trip, it's like fuck. We played with the Minutemen. We played with Flipper. We played with 7 Seconds. I mean, it was just like Toxic Reasons. It was just like the bands that it was just like. Because that's when all that stuff was happening. It's like,
and you're like 19 or so at the time, right?
Yeah. And then when we got down there to stay with the fuck ups, I'm going, hey, can somebody go buy me some beer? And they're going, no, you just, go right to the, liquor store. I think I bought a little pint of fucking Maker's Mark. It seemed like the right thing to do, but fuck, it was at 19 years old. It was god awful.
So you get up on stage and you're like, "Rah."
No, that was just the whole that whole trip down. Yeah. So that was the first time we went down there, and we did shows in Portland. We did some stuff up in Vancouver because back then there was a really, really strong connection between the Vancouver scene and the Seattle scene.
Right.
So DOA and the Subhumans and all the variations of those bands used to come down all the time.
Right. So I'm a big fan of like some of the more like power poppy stuff that came out. I don't even know what to call them, but like
the pointed sticks.
Pointed sticks and like the Cowboys and the Heats, that sort of shit from that era. Like I love the hell out of that stuff. And in fact, I need to get some of those people on because a lot of people don't even know those bands exist, and it's actually too bad, right? Because again, the older I get, especially the more I get into like the power poppy sort of stuff. It's soothing to the soul. It's like good to listen to when you're cleaning or whatever. So all right, so you do all this stuff with. I don't want to dwell a huge amount on the Fartz or walk.
So anyway, that was the first time. Then we went down another time when we played. We did a couple of shows with a Discharge. Went down there, played the fucking huge. Back then, there was these huge shows. We played at the Santa Monica Civic and the Oakland Auditorium. Once again, with we playing with Discharge and the Bad Brains and the Circle Jerks and the Lewd and just like this list of bands. And it's like the shows are just fucking shitty. Sound is fucking terrible. Back then nobody has good gear.
That reminds me, I need to get I need to get Bobby Click from the Lute on because he's a fascinating guy too.
Yeah.
Although he came in a little bit later into the band, if I remember.
Yeah, he's one of the
But he kind of like became the de facto guy to contact person, I guess, for the band. So that's how I actually met him. They did a 40th anniversary show. What was it? It was stupid. The 40th anniversary of punk, and they did it at this space. I'm trying to remember what it's called, but anyway, it was out in the Outer Mission. This is in 2016, I want to. And I was so excited because Cheetah Chrome was headlining. I was like, God, I want to go see Cheetah. Like that would be fucking awesome. And I showed up, and there were maybe 25 people when I walked into the hall.
Yeah,
right. It was an all-day event, and they had like Victims, and they had, I forget, it was like 15 bands. And I thought the Lute was going to play at night, and that's the main, like the Lute and Cheetah Chrome. That was the reason I was down there. And so I left and tried to find a bar, and there, of course, there's nothing to find anywhere around. So I had to like take a cab way the hell out. Anyway, so I was like, after a couple hours, I was like, fuck it, go back. And it turns out the Lute started at 2:00 in the afternoon. It's like an old school punk rock. Like we're talking to the guys who are now like, everyone is walking around with their canes, basically, So anyway, the Lute put on an awesome show, and they actually got Vanderhoof to come down and do the show with them. So that was cool. Pretty interesting. Yeah. I had never seen him completely bald, so I didn't even recognize him. I was like, who is that guy? So anyway, but Cheetah, not to go too deep into the story, but then I went back out again because I got bored, and came back a few hours later, and just as Cheetah was coming on, and by that time there were, I don't know, maybe 250 people, something like that. And Cheetah comes out, and he brings James Williamson out with him.
Oh, cool.
So that was incredible. I kind of saw the Stooges, so that's cool. Anyway, that's my little walk down memory lane. But getting back to the farts. So you have this incredible experience, when you're younger, and the farts only lasted a couple of years, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So did you basically already started at that point? They were kind of playing around, or were you a founding member of the Accused?
No, the Accused, they were already a band. They actually played one of their first shows with the Fartz. The one right. show that the one official show that the Fartz did with Duff McKagan playing drums. We played down in Portland,
right?
And the Accused showed up because we were playing with another local band called the Rejectors. They were couple of years younger, and they were kind of in that same crew as the Accused. So the Accused, they actually played one of their first shows. It was like November of '82 is when that would have been.
And so you basically just went straight. Did you go straight from the Fartz?
No, because then after the Fartz, we changed the name of the band to 10-Minute Warning.
Oh, that's right. Okay. This is a great walk down.
We changed the name of the band to 10-Minute Warning. So when we got Duff in the band, we'd been working on, I don't know, we had maybe like 5 or 8 songs we had been working on when Loud was still our drummer, and so then Duff came in, and we recorded. Maybe we even had like 9 or 10. There's some of them that were just lost. So we recorded these 5 songs with Duff playing drums, and we released those on a cassette called "The Survival of the Fittest."
Right.
And then we also sent a couple of the songs out, and they were on songs ended up being on like six or 7 different compilations. So then shortly after they were after the cassette was out, whatever reason, it doesn't really even matter now because it's too late. We changed the name of the band to 10-Minute Warning. And Steve continued to play bass for a while, but then he ended up quitting. He wasn't that wasn't going to be his thing. So we went on as 10-Minute Warning, and then so we had Paul Soldier was playing lead guitar, and then Duff moved to play rhythm guitar, and then we got a guy named David Griggs, and he played bass, and then a guy named Greg Gilmore was playing the drums. So we did that. We had a guy by the name of Kyle Nixon who was our manager, and Kyle Nixon was the singer for Soldier. So he was, good friend of Paul Soldier's. So he was, back then Kyle Nixon was always trying to be, entrepreneur, doing this, that, or the other. He actually did some of the big shows down at the Mountaineers Hall, and he was the guy that first brought Black Flag to Seattle.
Okay,
that was Kyle Nixon that did that. So we played once again. We were able because what we were doing, we still had that Jello Biafra connection. So we were able to lock onto some shows that we got to do with the Dead Kennedys. We played Portland, Seattle, and we did Vancouver, BC at the UBC. With the DKs, we did a couple other local things. We did a big metal show out when they were doing when the East Side Metal thing was a big deal, and they were doing shows at the Southgate roller rink, and we played out there. We played out there with Culprit and a band called Kid Skin, and I guess there was an air guitar thing, which I don't remember.
So Scott Earl from Culprit is another guy that I have trying to get on board. He's.
Oh, you froze up.
Yeah, that's okay. You'll come back.
Okay, yeah, and
this is what editing is for.
Okay,
that's okay.
Yeah,
we'll figure it out.
Yeah, and then there just got to be when they were, my musical tastes and musical abilities weren't what the 10-minute warning was looking for. So they kicked me out of the band. And then after they kicked me out of the band, I started playing guitar, and I played in a band called Mr. Stubbs and his Carnivorous Chicken Band. We played for about for about a year. It was a friend of mine, Donald Brown, a big skater back in the days, and another guy by the name of Pat Quirk. If anybody's familiar with the skate culture in Seattle in the early 80s up until probably the early 90s, you'd know who Pat Quirk was. And then one night I was off to see GBH and the Fastbacks play at the Mountaineers Hall, and a couple of the guys from the Accused who I'd actually been hanging out with already. They asked me to be in the band. I think that was April of '84 is when I got in the Accused.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Accused. I'm trying to remember the first album I heard of the Accused, and probably More Fun Than an Open Casket Funeral. I probably was the first one that I heard. Was that the first one you were on?
We did the Martha Splatterhead EP was what we did first when I was in the band. And then
okay, so they hadn't recorded an album.
We did The Return of Martha Splatterhead, which was it was an album. Yeah, we included the
No, I mean before you joined.
Oh no, they had done a split LP with the Rejectors. Yeah. And they were on the
perfect.
Fatal Erection label. Malcolm Kahn over from Eugene put that out.
Okay, that's cool. Okay, so your vocal style obviously changed fairly significantly between those two bands, right? Or between all three of them, it changed quite a bit. And I've only heard, as 99% of humanity has heard, only the pretty rough live recordings of 10-Minute Warning. I didn't buy the album we just released. I should have. You're probably sold out by now.
A couple
if
left.
not,
I can send you one. Only if you have I see you have a record player. So
cool.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean that's almost it's almost apocryphal in Seattle. Like that entire you know, and I don't think it's just because of Duff. I think it's more of it was a coming of age sort of band for a lot of people because the timing was just right, you know. So especially people around my age, you know, like it was like the perfect, like sort of like discovering Black Flag or something like that. You know, it's like that sort of mythical sort of band that, you know. I'm actually surprised you haven't sold, you know, a few thousand.
Well, I tried, you know, I'm still on the do-it-yourself thing, and you know, people now are so accustomed to ordering stuff online and Amazon. It's like, you know, now everybody, well, do you have a Bandcamp page? It's like, why do I need a fucking Bandcamp page? I'm talking to you right now. You want to buy the fucking record? Send me the money. I'm gonna package it up, and I'm gonna send it in the mail. You know, it's like everything you do now, you got to go through a fucking middleman. It's like, no, I'm okay. You know.
A lot of what happens is people want to buy they want to test the digital side.
Yeah.
And then if they like it, really, really like it, then they might buy the vinyl.
But I'm not, right? I'm not doing digital on this. Yeah.
No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't. I mean, like, this is the sort of thing that you know, I think a limited edition is by far the best way to go, you know? And then maybe 10 years from now, maybe then, you know, look at a bigger
somebody's going to transfer it to digital and put it on YouTube. I mean, you know, so.
Of course.
Yeah.
We'll make it through. You know, the entire.
Oh, you keep
fucking it.
You keep freezing up.
Yeah, I think we're both kind of freezing here.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's okay. I actually just completely lost you, but that's okay. Accused stuff. You want to talk about the accused a little bit?
Yeah. Which part do we go to? I mean, yeah.
So I remember like the you know, like the first time. Oh, by the way, your video may kick back in once we're done with this whole thing.
Okay.
And we'll talk about that later. If not, I'm going to put a picture of, I don't know, Martha or something up there for you. Although I'm terrible at editing video, so we'll see how that goes.
Okay.
So I remember listening to, again, I'm positive it was More Fun Than an Open Casket Funeral because a friend of mine bought it just because of the cover. And you know, because that's what we used to do. You know, just buy, hey, that looks cool. Oh, there you go. You're like, that looks cool. You know, let me check it out. And outside of like maybe Molly Hatchet albums, it usually worked pretty well. But you know, like Molly Hatchet was like, oh, that looks like a metal album.
Or the Grateful Dead.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I never fell for the Grateful Dead, thank God. Because talk about a band I hate right there. Anyway, so a friend of mine bought it, and you know, I think it was more of like the cartoonish, you know, nature of the whole thing. And he was like, this looks really funny, you know. So we sit in and listen to it, and the first song is what WCLT. I was like, okay, this sounds, you know, this is interesting. And then by the time we got through, I think we were probably pretty stoned or drunk or, you know, some combination thereof. And when we got down to the cover, which the name just totally escapes me.
Devil Woman.
Devil Woman, yes. So in my reptilian brain, I got this like, oh, this song sounds familiar. No, it can't possibly be. Like, no, there's no fucking way. Listen to the whole thing, and it was like, okay, this is my new favorite song, right? So the rest of the album was like, okay, this is good, but this is my song. You know, listen to it over and over and over and over again. And one night I was playing it really loud. My mom came home. She's like, is that what I think it is? You know, she was horrified. She's like, I can't believe what they did to this song. Like, this is sacrilegious. You know? Anyway, so what you guys did, I think, is it's kind of interesting. And I was trying to come up with I know most bands hate this, and actually all bands hate this, but you know, I always try to come up with it, like, if you put two bands together, which two bands would you have to put together to come up with another band, right? And with the Accused, it was kind of like this. I couldn't quite come up with two, but I'm going to try anyway. It's sort of like Napalm Death and what was the other band that I had? I'm sorry, I totally forgot. It was Napalm Death, and because more, I guess, for the like vocalizations more than anything, I guess. And what was the other one? Well, Discharge, I guess, would be a good one. Like if you kind of put those two things in a blender and added you
Yeah, yeah.
to the mix, like that's kind of how the whole thing came out. And it was funny because at the time I didn't know. Well, I didn't know Napalm Death at all. I mean, that actually surprisingly came fairly late for me. Um, but Discharge I knew at that point, but I knew more of their metalish sort of stuff.
Right.
You remember that, I guess like
Yeah,
85,
yeah, yeah.
86 when
This
they
is
started.
a grave new world. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Which I still like, but I mean, it's certainly not, hear nothing,
yeah,
say nothing,
yeah.
Um, so yeah, it was like really unique. And I remember being amazed, like, oh, these guys are from Seattle. That's weird. Like it didn't fit right to me. And then I saw you live a few times, and I forget, it might have been GBH. I don't remember. I mean, years and years and years ago, like 85-ish, 86, somewhere in there. Um, anyway, that was my whole point of getting into. So you were in the Accused for what, 20 years, right? Give or take?
For that first run, that would have been 84 up until 91.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the end of 92 is when I was in it that solid time, and there was a lot of changes that happened during that time.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, obviously you guys toured a lot and whatnot. So you rejoined though after 91 at some point, right? At least
I
for
did.
some period of
Well,
time,
I
or
didn't rejoin. We reformed.
okay, got it.
Yeah, trying to keep
Right.
it on a PC positive type of a level. Yeah, we got back together
Right.
um, in um, late early 97, late 96. Yeah, we got together. We got back together for a while, but kind of the stuff that we were doing was kind of like that was like dying. So
Mm-hmm.
we got together. We did it for a while. We did some shows, and then it was we tried to make it happen with write some new material, and then
Mm-hmm.
it was done.
Okay, so that was
Yeah,
it,
for that
right?
time, and then we came back and did it again in
Of course.
in like 2003, 2004.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Okay.
it was put together again with a lot of mixed emotions about making it happen. And
Sure.
unfortunately, the way that it turned out on the last go around, it turned out exactly how we thought it was going to happen. And
Well, that
yeah,
happens.
we bailed on that, and then we started.
Right.
The three people out of the band went and did something else, and then the one other
Right.
person tried to continue doing the Accused a couple of times. I mean, albeit in my opinion unsuccessfully. I mean, I think there was a point where it was kind of together, but after that it was kind of unsuccessful, and I don't know that it was really as pure and as from the heart as it could have.
Right. Right. So, I mean, obviously, we're not going to mention that
Yeah,
person
yeah,
in the
yeah,
name and
yeah.
all
I mean,
that
that's
good stuff.
that's that's that's
But
that's a whole other thing, that
yeah,
yeah.
but then you guys ended up basically doing Accused AD, which is
Well, then we did a band called Toetag. So
right. I remember Toetag.
I mean,
I
which
saw
we
Toetag
which we
upwards.
still do. I mean, we've never stopped. So we did Toetag, which was 3/4 of the Accused, and we did Toetag. We've put out a bunch of releases, and
Mm-hmm.
then in the time that we've been doing Toetag, we did an Accused cover band called Martha's Revenge. That we
Oh, okay.
brought out
Interesting.
a couple. I don't know, probably did a half a dozen, six or eight different shows that we did up and down the West Coast. As Martha's Revenge, sometimes we do two sets. We do the Toe Tag set, and then we do our Accused tribute set. And then
Right.
it just dawned on us one day that's like, we're just going to call ourselves the Accused AD. And we learned, actually, we learned the More Fun Than an Open Casket Funeral record. We learned that we played it all the way through from, the beginning to end, which we'd never done before, because a lot of times we wrote songs or recorded songs that were never we never played live. So for the 30th anniversary of the More Fun Than an Open Casket Funeral record, we we're Toetag, but when we played those Accused songs, we were the Accused AD. And
That's awesome.
and we did West Coast tour, toured Texas, played the Maryland Death Fest.
Great.
Did a whole bunch of shit.
How are fans reacting to that? Like, I mean, do you think they even know the difference?
It's so common these days. I mean, people don't really the dynamics of being in a band, it's like, it's like being married or having, 3 girlfriends or 4 girlfriends or 4 wives or something. Some people think it's so some people think it's so simple. It's like, well, shit, man, how long have you worked at your job? Or how long have you been married? You know what I mean? It's like, there's a lot, the guys that I play with now, we've been playing together for such a long time. We all know what we hate about each other, and that's, that's reality, but we still, we still jam two nights a week, and whenever we get to play live shows again, we're back at it.
That's so funny. So I remember the first time I saw Toetag, and I didn't know about the Accused breakup, because I, like most music fans, I kind of go through cycles where I'm really into one thing and then I end up in somewhere else and forget about the other thing and circle back around. So, I'd kind of forgotten about the Accused, and I'd done some work with the Pleasure Elite, which I love them to fucking death, and so I went to one of their final shows, right, which they did a number of those, but it was at somewhere in Everett, that horrible
Jimmy Z's.
Little Jimmy Z's, yeah.
Did we play that show? And Toetag played that show, yeah.
And I remember I was like, I had a table like right in front of the stage, because they have that tiny little pit area, like I don't know, like 10 feet or whatever, and then the little fence thing, and then the tables right behind it. So I was sitting like right there, and I'd gone out for a smoke, and I came back in, and I was like, I know that voice. That's so weird, and I couldn't place it. I was like, what the fuck? And then I saw you like writhing around on stage and all that shit, and I was like, oh, I know who that is. That's whatever. And that's when I actually learned that Toetag was, essentially a what's the right word for it? You probably have a better word than I do, but an incarnation of a reincarnation, I guess, of the Accused to a certain extent.
Well, we have the same musical likes, tastes, and whatnot. So it's
a lot of fun. So, are the same guys? Are you essentially the same band between the Accused AD and Toetag?
Yeah, when we first started to do, after we first stopped doing the Accused, it was me, Alex Maggot Brain, and Steve Nelson, who were the other guys in the Accused. And Alex was the bass player of the Accused, and now in Toetag he's the guitar player. In Toetag. And then we recruited Steve McVeigh, came in to play bass with Toetag, and he had played with Alex in a band called Hot Rod Lunatics, and we played with Steve Nelson playing drums, I think about 7 or 8 years, and then Steve retired. He decided that playing drums wasn't something that he wanted to do. And then we got another drummer, and his name is Chris Trenton, or the Diamond C. He was singer in a band called the Midnight Idols, most recently, and then back in the mid 90s hardcore thing, he was in a band called Last Gasp. So he played drums with us for a couple of years. I don't know, number of years, maybe 5. And then we had a little tiffy, We didn't play. We didn't play with him anymore, which unfortunately ended up being unfortunate. But we're still friends, and
Right.
we all love each other. He's since moved. He's
Right.
since moved to Spain, but that's just how things happen. But we're all cool with it. And then we got another guy to play drums with us for a while, and then we got another guy to play drums with us, and he was from he,
It's always the fucking drummers,
yeah,
man.
he was his name was Mickey Widmere, and he was from Portland, and he had been playing with a band he'd been playing with Poison Idea, did some touring with Poison Idea, played drums on their last record, and he really wanted to come up here and jam with us. So he came up. He would come up to Seattle once a week, stay for a couple of days, and then go back to Portland. He played with us for almost 2 years. He recorded our last record that we did, which we released under the Accused AD name, and the record is called "The Ghoul in the Mirror," and that is on. That's on Black House Records, run by Scott Roselle. Very, very fine gentleman, and a really fair guy to work with.
Vinyl version?
Pardon me?
The vinyl version?
The vinyl version, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah,
okay.
and so
I'm trying to only buy vinyl nowadays. Like that's.
Oh, I'm only buying.
It's not working very well, but it's my goal.
And so then we played with Mickey for a while. He had some mental health issues that we were aware of, that he didn't want to acknowledge. He was a fellow who was closer to 50 than 25, but still carried himself as if he was 19.
Oh boy!
So we decided that we were no longer going to play drums with Mickey, and then we called up our good friend Steve, the Slayer hippie Hanford.
And we knew what happened there.
Yeah, so who was in a band? He was in Poison Idea for a number of years. I met Steve back in '85 when he was in a band called Mayhem down in Portland, metal band. So we brought Steve up here, and we learned the Accused songs, and we did some local shows with him. Did some in Seattle and Portland. We did a short tour with I Hate God, Negative Approach, Sheer Terror, and Final Conflict. We did like a two-week West Coast tour. It was fucking killer. And then we came back and we did a couple of more local shows, and then the last show that we played with Steve was at the Plaid Pig in Tacoma, and we played with Acid Teeth, and they are really nice guys. And one other band I can't remember, and then all the fucking virus hit, and we didn't really know how long all this stuff was going to happen. And my wife started working from home, so we weren't really. Steve would come, we'd have to drive down to Portland and get Steve and his drums and bring him back up to Seattle. Right. And we rehearse at my house, and he would stay at our house, and not my house, our house. I'm married, and
with the wife right there, you got to make sure you.
Well, it's true, but just a slip. And then he ended up having a heart attack and dying.
That's amazing.
Which was really too bad. And he had been somebody's calling my telephone, and he had been working on got a whole bunch of stuff that he'd been doing. He had a project. He had released a record on the Black House label with the band he had called Fetish. Really great record. Very, very, very much in that Poison Idea flavor. He was working on a Blue Oyster Cult tribute LP He did. had all kind of heavy hitters that he was had on that record. He had done a project called Mondo Generator that with Nick Oliveri from Queens of the Stone Age. He was just doing all this stuff, but the last project he one of the last ones he got to do was with another buddy of ours from Portland. His name's Tony Avila. I met him when he was in a band called World of Lies, kind of a thrash metal type of a deal, and then he's done a bunch of shit in between then. And Steve and Tony put these 4 songs together, and then they got the Nick Oliveri to come in there and play bass. And I think Tony played rhythm guitar, and I think they had another Ian, I can't remember his last name. He played second guitar, and it ended up being a 4-song single. And the name of the band is a DEA, Dead End America, and it's with Nick Oliveri sings a song, Mike from I Hate God sings a song, I sing a song, and then the Slayer hippie. He sings a song. Great. Yeah.
Cool. I'm going to follow up with you on some links or whatever for when you actually publish this. So just be ready for that. I have a couple of last questions.
Sure.
One of them is I'm part of this group of friends. Like there's 4 of us that or I guess what's the 5 of us now? Wait, no, 4 of us. I'm sorry. That we only communicate via text, and every once in a while, and it's all random. So I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to talk to Blaine from The Accused, and do you have any questions?" So my friend Maynard had, I think, probably the best question ever, and that was, "Has anybody in The Accused had to get neck surgery?"
Neck surgery?
Neck surgery from all the
No. You got to do your fucking stretches, man. Oh yeah. When you're on tour and you're doing that 30 nights in a row, no, you got to stretch, and you got to take care of yourself.
Yeah, no kidding, right? And I think that's what a lot of bands don't get. They're like, oh yeah, we'll just go out and get fucked up and be on the road for a month.
No, that's a young man's game, boy. When you get after a while, you can't do that.
Amazing. Blaine, it's been incredible to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you.
And is there anything else you want to do in parting? Like anything you want to promote or anything like that?
Check out my YouTube channel. It's called The Wicker Bar. I do.
Okay, I will.
I do.
I see.
I do cocktails mostly. I do some cooking, and it's supposed to be collectibles. I haven't gotten into that angle yet, but we started off doing videos on Facebook. Back when all this stuff started, just kind of showing. Just simple cooking techniques. I think people get intimidated when it comes to cooking, and there's no reason why when you're at home that you can't enjoy good food and enjoy good drink, and not have to spend a bunch of money.
The one thing I've said to my son, he's now 19 and living in his first apartment on his own, right? And I started, putting in his head, I was like, if you know how to make a good chicken breast and a good omelet, that gets you halfway there. And at the very least, it's going to get you laid.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You can make dinner at home for, a cute girl, and you can make breakfast in the morning.
Yes.
So anyway, hey, Blaine, it was such a pleasure to talk to you. I'll reach out with, to get more, some links and stuff to put in the bio or in the bottom. But hey, absolute pleasure, my friend.
Right. Thank you. Peace.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Bye now.
Peace from Potlatch.
You got it. Cheers. Stay online just for 1 second.
Okay.
Because it's going to upload a little bit of your video. Okay. So when you hang out, just keep the browser open. Cheers, man. Rock and roll.